Any Napa guy knows, and science proves, the best minivan is the one you've already got. Part kid transporter, part drywall mover. Who cares if the faux wood grain is a little faded? That was a platinum package option in 1987. With over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep anything on the road. Because it's not old, it's vintage. That's Napa know-how.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
Welcome to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Make sure you guys check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, and also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. We're in the middle of the week. It is hump day. Oh, thank God. Hey, I know there's a bunch of you out there that it's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's two more full work days to go for most. The rest of us, we got the rest of the week to go. I usually get Friday off, but then Saturday and Sunday I work, because I'm off Monday. So take this opportunity right here to kind of get your pick-me-up, your dose, midweek dose to get you ready, because it only gets better from here. Tomorrow night we got Racing with Big Sweat, 9 o'clock, can't miss that. And then Saturday we got a special episode of Happy Hour Garage at noon on Saturday, can't miss that. And then we got another edition, 7 o'clock Sunday night, and then follow that with a Dirt Talk Hour at 9 p.m. It only gets better from here. We already got you through the first couple of days of this week, and tonight just kind of get you over that hump. So let's strap in tonight. And let's get this done like we like to do it. So we got two great guests joining us tonight. We got Maddie Ryan. I've been friends with her or a fan page for I know at least a year. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been, but I have had an opportunity to be able to keep up with her for a while now, and I can't remember if we've actually had her on the show before or if this is the first time we're getting her on the show. But very, very excited to be able to get her on the show and talk to her like that. I've been able to keep up with a lot of things that she has going on and get to talk about some of that stuff, and looking forward to that. And then we also got Zach Knowles joining us tonight. Been looking forward to getting to know Zach, obviously. I don't know Zach as good as, and been able to keep up with Zach as well as I have Maddie. Like I said, I've been following her for a while. So getting the opportunity to kind of get a fresh guest on here and getting to meet someone else, definitely excited about that, looking forward to that. So midweek already, it's crazy. Got some stuff. Falcons release a player. The Baltimore Ravens give an extension. And I'm going to talk about those things after we get done with both of our guests tonight. And so I'm going to save that. But, there was a topic that was kind of off the table when we had our guest on last night, and so I just didn't want to tiptoe around it and and have the conversation more to the fact of her age and everything else. Tonight we got two adults for the most part. Is Maddie 16? I'm not sure how old Zach is, but Zach's a little bit older. It's not something that I'm going to talk about while they're on the show anyway. And I kind of leave it a rule of thumb that there's two things that I steer clear of, because one, I am just as passionate about these topics as anybody else, or I'm not going to say anybody else, but just as passionate as anybody that has a passion about either one of these two topics. But it's not that I feel that it's going to lead into an argument or bitter feelings, even though both of them I feel how I feel about them. But it's just a rule of thumb, the two things you just don't talk about, and that's politics and religion. And so I keep both of those things kind of off the table, no matter who it is. It was brought to my attention, and it was kind of one of the things that was discussed going into this week. And like I discussed with these people, and the conversations I've had with people, unless the guest brings it up, it's not something that I talk about. And I make a point not to talk about it. I make a point. Okay, I guess I tried to say it. I make a point to not talk about it, just because it's just one of those things that it never ends well. And on top of that, I'm not going to say religion has nothing to do with sports. I mean, hell, the every single NASCAR race starts off with a prayer, and God is probably said more times at a race on Sunday than sometimes at a churches even says God in their service. So I'm not going to say that it's not part of sports, but it's not part of what I focus on when I talk about sports. And what I mean is, yes, if you're a religious person, then yes, you believe that everything you accomplish is because of God, and all things are accomplished through God, and all that stuff. And my personal feelings is one thing, but I try not to impose my beliefs, because we've all witnessed it. Either they come knocking on your door, or you've seen movies and Jehovah's Witnesses and them trying to put their beliefs on you. And I have an opportunity here, and I've talked about this. I get 2 hours a day that I know that I'm being listened to. Well, we're up 138% in listeners per show from January to February, and then expecting a jump again. And I expect the same jump in March. Like we grew a lot. And I get an opportunity to be listened to by quite a few people that I can track, and a crap ton that I go by the stats that are given me from other networks and what I can research on other platforms. People don't tune in to me to listen to me talk about religion or listen to me talk about politics. They tune in to listen to me talk about sports. They listen in just to see who we have on the show. They have tuned in to see what's going on here at the 110 Nation. And it's not that I am, ashamed of who I'm going to vote for. It's not that I'm ashamed of my religious beliefs. It just, I believe that I created a sports company, not created a church or a mission or nothing to that such. And even if one of our guests brings up these topics, I try to ease around that and kind of defer I try to defer from those conversations, even if they were brought up. And that's just me. That's just how I like to handle it, because I'm here to talk sports. If you want to talk religion, you can DM me on the side. If you want to talk about politics and how I feel, either A, you can friend me on my personal page. You get a little bit more idea how I feel about our president and the elections and all this garbage going on. Or you know, you want to start up a conversation, we can have a conversation. But it's not one of those things that I try to do and consume my airtime, my opportunity. Like I said, this is the highlight of my day. You know, I manage at a convenience store. I have 2 children. I help raise a couple other children. There's a lot of people that, you know, I am over top of just because of my stature, either being a parent or being a boss or whatever the case may be. But this is truly my happiest part of the day. 2 hours of, without a shadow of a doubt, people are listening. Not just tuning in. They might just turn it on. It's not like you just turn it on and go do your business, because if not, then you would be just turning on music to have something to listen to, do your business with. You tune in to actually listen. And so I feel that it's not something that I want to spend my 2 hours, the highlight of my day, the thing that I passionately love the most, what goal that I have, that 2 years, just under 2 years from this point, I want to be able to do 24/7 and walk away from the quote-unquote real job. I'm not going to consume that with politics and religion. So when we're going into this week and had this conversation brought up to me, I'm sitting there, you know, over the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of young drivers on the show, and they were just afraid that certain topics would get brought up, and you know, that's not something I would do anyway. But obviously, Brian France is not the same as me, and I know that it's a complicated situation, because it is sad that we live in an era now that you can't really speak freely on your beliefs. It's just one of those things that it don't matter if it's your political belief, if it's your religious belief, if it's even your sexual preference belief, whatever it is, you really can't speak about it. And we shouldn't be at a point that we are so sensitive. If you sneeze and your head jerks to the right, you might offend this group of people, but if you sneeze and your head jerks to the left, you're going to offend those people. If you try to hold it in, you offend a whole different group of people. I mean, that's to the point where we're at. And it's sad that we live that way. But because that's where we're at, that means we're at a point that we have to keep that stuff to ourselves, such as our political endorsements. Nobody cares, honestly, who Brian France supports. And it should be left at who Brian France supports. One, it should not be labeled as NASCAR. 2, Brian France, his decision should be kept to his personal business. And just like when we go to vote, it should be kept confidential. I mean, there's a reason why you go to a voting booth and nobody knows who you vote. If you want to tell, then that's it. But it's not really anybody's business. And when you run a business, you've got to be able to learn how to separate your personal life from your business. You know, I had to learn very, very quickly and very, very hard two lessons when it comes to separating. One, I didn't think about it at first when I had my Twitter handle and I had my Mr. CJ Sports fan page. I didn't keep it separated. I let a lot of my emotions and a lot of my personal views and feelings be known on the fan page. And the staff at the time quickly addressed the fact that, you know, this affects them, first of all, but second of all, this is for a business, not for your personal views. And I quickly realized that. It quickly erased what needed to be erased that wasn't sports related. And then at the same time, I made sure that I didn't post anything else that could be viewed in a negative way or a way that was not directed toward the business. And I'm sorry, but politics has nothing to do with NASCAR. Yes, some of the policies of these politics pass or don't pass may affect it, but politics directly endorsing somebody and being pro-Bush or pro-Obama, or pro-Trump really has nothing to do with how the operation is, how the business operates. Then I quickly had to learn that I needed to tone down a lot, and I have toned down a lot over the last, 7 years at this point, especially expressing my displeasure of our current president. Because then I started thinking about, you know, and I'm not saying I got a lot of friends, but I think I got close to 600 friends on Facebook. Not my fan page, but just my personal. And a lot of them are sports related. I have a lot of friends that on Facebook that are drivers or football players or basketball players or whatever the case may be, or just in the sports industry, period. And I started thinking to myself, and it blows my mind because I'm seeing this as the CEO and founder of a company that's a month and a half short of only being in existence for 5 years. This is not the CEO of pretty much the premier racing series. I don't care if you're an IRL fan, an F1 fan. I think that maybe F1, IRL, it's not, numbers are not there. Outside of maybe the F1 series, NASCAR has the most fans, the most. I mean, and to be the CEO of something so big, and you don't understand what I can understand being a CEO of something so small. That's really what got me. And the fact that their sport is such a sponsor-driven, it's even more of a thing because I can say what I want. I'm not losing any sponsors. I have no sponsors to lose. I mean, the whole network, the closest thing we have to a sponsor is Snafu Seasoning, and I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful that they provide Racing with Big Sweat with bottles of it to hand out to our listeners, and it's great. Don't get me wrong, but that's the extent of where we're at right at this point. We're still in the growing process. Don't get me wrong, we would love to take on any sponsors. If you're out there listening and you would like to sponsor a company that I promise you there is not a budget too big or too small that we cannot accommodate. All you got to do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. I'll throw that in there real quick. But NASCAR is a sport that is sponsor-driven. Your religious beliefs, your political endorsing, those all got to be personal. Those all got to be things that your personal life, your friends, your family, those people need to know. Your employees, the fans that come to support your business, honestly, it's really none of their business what religion you have. It don't matter what. It is really none of their business what political candidate that you are backing. I mean, let's be honest about it. It's really nobody's business which one of the different various types of religions and beliefs that, you know, from Catholic to Buddhism or whatever it is, to atheist, to Christian, to Catholic, whatever the case may be. It's nobody's business other than whoever I am with, my direct family, and my friends. And honestly, it's really none of my friends' business. I mean, to be honest, I know I'm supposed to spread the word, but it's really nobody's business, my relationship between me and God. Because all that just leaves is judgment. And I'm sorry, but I believe that thou shalt not judge people. And that's why I do not judge all these different people doing all these different things. I'm not going to agree with them, but I'm not here to judge, so I don't care what, you know, as long as you ain't affecting mine, and as long as you don't affect me, I really don't care. Just like who I'm supporting. And to be 100% honest, I have an idea who I'm going to vote for, but I am not committed to anything. I like to get more of the facts as it builds up to it before I worry about who I'm even going to go vote for. But that is not something that the 110 Nation is going to endorse. That's who I'm going to go vote for, who I'm going to vote for, who Miss Lee is going to vote for, who Izzo is going to vote for, who Chris Creighton is going to vote for, Damian Beans, Steve Billmeyer. It's all their business. We might not even vote for the same people at all. Who knows? But it blows my mind to know that you're in a sponsor-driven sport. And here you are willing to lay this out there, knowing that you've already cut back to this year to 40 cars, that your attendance, I mean, Atlanta was horrible. You're constantly trying to change the rules to make the sport cheaper because you don't have enough sponsors and enough teams to fulfill everything that needs to be fulfilled. But yet you're going to put NASCAR's name behind a label of a person that you want to have in office as the president. I don't get it. Camping World Chairman and CEO Marcus Lemonis reaffirmed his company's commitment to NASCAR despite not agreeing with Brian France's decision to endorse Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump at the Georgia rally on Monday. Lemonis, whose company has served as a title sponsor of NASCAR's Truck Series since 2009, tweeted shortly after France's endorsement. Tweet said, "There is no place for politics, any political endorsements in any business. Your customers and employees should have their own mind, #period. This follows a letter Lemonis wrote to NASCAR last year that led the sanctioning body to move the Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series banquet from the Trump National Doral after comments Trump made about immigrants. He also went on to tell Sports Daily on Tuesday that he has no plans to seek an early exit from his company's Truck Series sponsorship. The company signed a 7-year extension in 2014 that will take it through 2022. I'm not going to give Brian France the credit for him to think that him crossing the line that I just defined is going to affect our support of a sport that has tons of fans and teams," Lemonis told Sports Business Daily. "I'm not going to give him the credit that his crossing the line would warrant us picking a side when at the end of the day our allegiance is to the sport, which is much bigger than Brian France, and the teams and the drivers, which is much bigger than Brian France, and to the fans who love the sport, which clearly is much bigger than Brian France." I think I'm not going to say it pissed off a lot of people because I think a lot of the NASCAR fans are on that side of the fence. And it's not so much, even though to me it was not in the best interest of the sport, especially when you are not, the sport is not growing in the traditional Republican, white, South it used to be. The sport's open up to all kinds of political views, all kinds of religion, all kinds of races, and to sit there and say that we're going to endorse the traditional. I understand that's not going to affect a lot of fans because still that's a lot of what the fans are in the sport. In order for this sport to grow, and you want it to grow out of the traditional middle-class white fan base that you once only had, you've got to keep politics, you've got to keep religion out of it. And like I said, I know it's sad. We live in a day and era that's the way it is. And I am not one to believe that, you should keep your religion hidden, like you're ashamed of it. But the way you live your life and the way you run a business, it's got to be two different ways. In order to have a wealthy life in your religion and to have a wealthy business to take care of your employees, take care of your family, take care of what needs to be taken care of, you got to do your church thing and your family thing in your time to have your life to be healthy and your beliefs and your status to be healthy with your religion and how you believe. But at the same time, you got to conduct business as business. And I think that's where things kind of got a little jumbled up. You're taking you're taking a chance when you start taking a stance in politics and taking a stance in religions, and even taking a stance when it came to the whole flag thing. And I know that the whole Confederate flag and that whole ordeal, I know that was a tough decision for NASCAR to make as well. Sometimes the world problems, religion and politics need to stay in the church, in the White House, and in the world. Just like I use this opportunity, and it's what also makes this 2-hour segment great. Not only do I take this opportunity to get away from the world, my 2 hours of freedom. This is my 2 hours to be in this home. I don't have to think about anything going on. NASCAR fans, and even any sport really, their fans are the same way. They want, when we sit down to watch NASCAR for that 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock block or whatever the case may be, we don't want to have to care about anything else. We don't want to have to care what's going on in the religious world and the Pope's doing this and this church doing that, and we don't want to be troubled by what Trump said or Hillary Clinton said or Obama said. Just like we don't want to be bothered. I'm not gonna say bothered, but that time frame, we don't care what the Dow Jones is at, and we don't care what the unemployment is at. We don't care about the world problems either. This is our opportunity, and it's not even just NASCAR; it's every sport. This is why we watch. Just like the NBA said, this is why we play. This is why we watch. It gives us an opportunity, and especially if it's our team playing or our driver doing good, we really get to just zone everything out. You can ask anybody that's ever lived with me. If it is my team and it is on TV, you can talk until your face is blue. The odds are I did not hear nothing you said. My opportunity to block everything out. I get this block to get totally sucked in to what is going on in a particular sport at that particular moment. And obviously somebody's got to explain to these other CEOs and these other commissioners and everything else. Some things got to stay separated. If Brian France continues to let his personal beliefs and his personal stance show through the sport instead of just keeping it in his personal life, all he's going to do is continue to drive fans away from the sport. And he's already done it many times. And I'm not going to say that it's his fault. There's a lot of changes, and I discussed this earlier this week. There's a lot of changes that have happened in NASCAR that I agree with. That, I had to wait for it to play out, and, some of it you actually had to wait a whole year for it to cycle back around so you could compare this year's notes versus last year's notes. And there's a lot of things that it took a while to finally play out. A prime example is the COT. We couldn't use, the COT compared to last year, the year prior car, because it was just a horrible car. But that was kind of the beginning of them eventually getting to the cars we have now. And so it took a long time. It's just like, the Chase. That was one you could compare back. I was not a fan of the old format, but to see it develop to where we're at now. I mean, it's such a popular thing that now the Camping World Truck and the Xfinity Series have their own Chase. So I'm not saying that everything and every decision that Brian France has made has been, ultimately the reason that fans have walked away. Some fans just have walked away from the sport. If their drivers involved, they just don't like some of the, the things that NASCAR has to do. I mean, like I said, this is probably one of these days of sports to realize how many miles that they put in a year, times the speeds they travel, and what they do with those cars, and the weight of those cars to walk away with hardly any severe injuries, hardly any broken bones. Yeah, they might be bruised here, and, there's broken bones, but not that many compared to what we see players in the NFL on a daily basis and a weekly basis get sidelined for, careers ended for. NASCAR's a really safe sport. I don't think a lot of people give NASCAR the credit that they deserve. That's a lot of miles at the speeds that they go. So I don't want to say that it's Brian France's fault that the sport is lacking the viewership that that they should be getting. And I think more of it's got to do with the talent or the lack of talent and the lack of exposure. And NASCAR has really done a great job. ARCA Series on NBC, K&N Pro Series on NBC. Some of the ARCA Series races are on Fox Sports. There's the better coverage of all three of the top series. They're definitely doing everything that they got to do. The Drive for Diversity program, and then all this slew of talented drivers that we're seeing come through. But all this change that the fans are having troubles to adjust to as it is, it happens to wait to finally see the rest of this talent come through the ranks so we can weed out some of the drivers that really have no business being out there on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. All of it's going to be for nothing. Zit subs nada. If Brian France was his personal political beliefs, religious beliefs, and any other beliefs that has nothing to do with how this sport should be run, has nothing to do with this sport, period, or has anything to do with the rules in this sport, if he keeps letting all that come through, it's all going to be for nothing. You about lost a title sponsor to a whole series. Not just a sponsor to a car, not just to one of the sponsors on a racetrack or one of the many sponsors that help make the sport go, but the title sponsor of a whole series. I couldn't imagine how much money Camping World is forking over to be the title sponsor of the Truck Series. I would love to know how much that cost. And here, because he allows his political beliefs shine through and wants to throw NASCAR as they're endorsing, you'll foul lost a lot of money. I would love to know who was sitting in the office with him when we ought to officially endorse Donald Trump. I would like to know how many people rose their hand and said, I agree, that is a great idea. trust me, this show could probably be a lot better. There's a lot of stories that I could tell. And I know Shorty's in the studio listening, and she's probably shaking her head. There's a lot of stories that I can talk about. Has nothing to do with sports. Has nothing to do with really what the show is. It would make things interesting. We don't lead the most boring life. We have interesting things going on, even though I work 40 hours a week, even though then I'm in the 110 studio 30 or so hours a week. At a minimum. Then usually if I'm not in the studio, I'm on my phone sharing stuff, reading emails, getting back with people. That there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Kids to help raise. Chores and errands that got to be done and run. We still have interesting things that go on. Has nothing to do with it. I don't impose, my what I do for entertainment, what I believe in it on the show or the company. Even though it would spice things up. But I know it's a shame that we live in an era that we offend everybody. I mean, I've been having allergies. I sneezed a couple of times on last night's show. I have been sneezing left and right for the last 2 days. I got to eventually break down and buy some Claritin. Just got to. And, honestly, I'm surprised. I did sneeze too many times and offend somebody. I mean, it's really sad how sensitive. I mean, my work just imposed basically, they call it a no-jerk rule. And you cannot say something in a manner to make someone feel like you're being a jerk to them. So, in other words, when I am counseling my employees for not doing something right or doing something deliberately wrong or whatever the case may be, when I speak to them, I have to do it in a manner that they don't feel that I'm coming off as a jerk. Yes, that's how sensitive and how soft we are as a nation. It's no wonder we get slapped around. It is no wonder that we pretty much became the doormat for everybody. Honestly, the no jerk rule was like put out like the same day or before she had an opportunity to talk to me about it. And I let my employee know about it. And that I was displeased. I had 2 employees work. There's no reason that my cooler should not be 100% stocked, ready to roll. I should not come in, especially late Saturday night. I won't say it was Saturday night. And I have 2 people that, most days after 9, 10 o'clock, about 10 o'clock, and there's hardly anybody that comes into the store. We're up until midnight. And you got 2 hours of at least one person dedicated to the cooler, if not 2 people that can get into that cooler. And so I let them know about it. And I was informed that, if I would have had this conversation with you before, you wouldn't have been able to say that because we have a no-jerk policy. And so, like I said, I know from experience, it is sad that we live in a era that everybody is so sensitive. You offend somebody no matter what you do. But because we live in that era, and not even because we live in that era, but even more, you just can't be the CEO of a company and let your especially your political beliefs. That's your beliefs. That's who you want to vote for. And when you start affecting, and this is where it gets me the most, it is when you start affecting the money and you start affecting your employees and how they're going to get paid, such as potentially almost losing the title sponsor of Camping World for the Truck Series. And I see you in the studio. I'm going to get ready to get you in here, Maddie. That should have been a wake-up call. You shouldn't even got to that far. You should have not said anything that puts you in a predicament that you were going to lose a title sponsor to a whole series. It shouldn't, and that's the prime example of why. like I said, I could make this show probably 10 times better because I could say stuff that my political beliefs, my religious beliefs, and just the way of living beliefs that I go by, and it would be a lot funner for me to talk about, and a lot of you would find it entertaining, but there would be that quite a few that doesn't have the same beliefs, doesn't believe the same political views I believe, or doesn't believe, my lifestyle is the right lifestyle to lead, and would be offended or turned off. And so, I that's why I stick strictly to talking about sports. I'll sprinkle a little stuff that I do in, but nothing that, are my beliefs. And Brian France has got to do the same thing. If he wants this sport to go back in the right direction and growing, because, like I said, we get to see it, and we got 2 guests coming on tonight. That prime example of very talented drivers coming through the ranks with all these series and all these different programs and these rule changes. Yes, some people don't agree with them yet, but give them time, just like the downforce, we give it time. Oh, we loved it in Atlanta. The chase, the last 2 years, are you serious? They crashing each other and beating the crap out of each other. All this, like I said, if Brian France kills it before it gets to the final product, and we get to see it all kind of just develop. Because it's on your political and religious and every other beliefs that has nothing to do with the sport. Just keep it strictly about the sport. Keep it strictly about business. And we wouldn't have to have this conversation, and we wouldn't have to see title sponsors they're talking about, we're going to stick it out, but pretty much you do it again, we're going to walk. So, I don't know. It just kills me. I guess not everybody's meant to be in charge. But anyway, we got our first guest in the studio. Like I said, I can't remember how long back that I started following Maddie Ryan Racing, but I know that it's been at least a year, and I honestly can't remember. It was 5 years of doing shows if we actually have had her on the show or not. So I want to say that we have had, but I can't remember if it has. It's been a long time. It would have probably been a couple years back at this point. But very excited. I've had an opportunity to see the updates, so I get to know a little bit more of what's going on versus the average fan that is not a fan of her Facebook page. So you guys are going to have an opportunity here in a second to find out how to follow her and keep up with what's going on. But without any further delay, let's go ahead and get her in the studio. How are you doing tonight, Maddie?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. Glad to have you on here. Before we jump into this, what I like to do with our guests is give them an opportunity to plug themselves, if it be social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use. The team site, your site, sponsors, whatever you want to throw out there. That way the fans have a way to be able to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level, follow your racing career, not only in 2016, but moving forward as well.
We are Maddie Ryan Racing on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook right now. Gotcha. And of course, like I said, I don't know how far back that I started following your fan page, and I honestly want to say that it probably had to do with you being on the show, but I can't remember if you've been on the show. But I tell you what, it's always interesting, and it's always really cool to see your stuff come through Facebook. One thing that the listeners don't get an opportunity to see and don't know, and more likely don't know unless you know her personally, you're a very athletic and gym-going person. Very impressive. When did you become so involved with the gym, and how important is it to you to be in the gym to affect your career? Physical fitness is a big thing for me. I started going to the gym about, probably when I first got up into larger stock cars. My dad told me that he wasn't going to put, at the time the car didn't have power steering on it. So, I mean, that was the Pro 6, and, I mean, those things are difficult to drive with power steering. So, without power steering, it was 10 times harder, and, that's when I was about, I think I had just turned 14, and I'm 17 now, and, I mean, since then, I've just become a gym rat, to be honest, and, I mean, I love lifting, and I love staying active and everything else, so, and it's definitely
endurance-wise and, you know, everything else, it's definitely put a huge aspect on how my performance is on the track as well.
Have you noticed a big difference from when before you started being a gym rat to where you're at now when it comes to the endurance of a race?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, my first year that I really started getting serious about the gym, I lost 30 pounds. So, I mean, that was literally a huge weight lifted off of me and everything else. And definitely, you know, you can look around and everybody that was, you know, yeah, I would be sweating and everything, but all the other drivers, I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or anything, but, I mean, they just looked very, very exhausted and everything else, and, you know, I was ready to, I could have done another race, I mean, because I wasn't physically as tired as the others.
Oh, go ahead and toot your own horn. I know exactly how it was. You know, a couple years back, I ended up dropping like 65 pounds total. I went from a 315 to a 250, and I went to a very physically fit 250 where my bench was up at 460. I was a gym rat. And
That's
over
awesome.
the last year, because of life issues and vehicles and just watching children, I put back on 50 pounds, and now, you know, my schedule's freed up somewhat. I'm going to go back in the other direction, but definitely toot your own horn. And it's great because you don't see athletes all the time, especially drivers, you know, care that much about their health. It's great when you see the Casey Kanes, the Jimmy Johnsons, and, you know, they're doing their marathons and triathlons and everything else. And, you know, it's good that you see young drivers that get it. And you could see the difference in you. You know, over the period of time that I've seen pictures and then the more recently watching, the videos that you put on about, you know, you in the gym. And, you know, I think I saw one where you were working on shoulders and backs, and the other ones you were working on doing squats. And you could see how much, one, the weight that changed, but two, you know, your shape and how much, you know, more of an athletic shape that you're getting, and it's great because, you know, like you said, you get to the end of the race and, you know, you're still wound up, ready to go, and the rest of these drivers, I know that's got to hurt their performance. You said you got in about 14. When did you actually start driving?
I started racing when I was we started testing at 11. I started in a Bandolero car. And I began racing at 12.
At 12? What got you into the sport?
My stepdad actually used to race when he was younger, and when he married my mom, it was kind of like, let's go find a hobby, and he decided to get back into racing was going to be it.
Did you ever imagine?
And since then, I've just taken off with it.
Did you ever imagine before that, the prior 10 years and some odd months, that you would ever get into racing? Like, was that ever something that ever crossed your mind before then?
No. To be completely honest with you, no. I mean, my life, I didn't even know that racing at that age and, you know, putting it as a possible career and everything, it really, I never even thought about it. I mean, I was 11 years old. You know, you hear the saying, I mean, you can be whatever you want to be, just got to put your mind to it. I mean, it really is true because never did I think that I'd be where I am today.
How much did your life change once you decided to drive? And here you are, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and you're the average kid out there playing, you know, jump rope, hopscotch, whatever kids play at your age these days, video games, I don't know now, to now you're a race car driver, and obviously your time and your priorities and everything had to change. How big of a swing was that, and how hard was that to adjust for you?
I mean, it definitely was a really big, drastic change. I mean, I struggled with it at times because, having to when I decided to really, you know, make a career out of this and everything, racing in general, once you get involved in it, it really just becomes your life. And, you know, I am now homeschooled because of all the traveling and everything else, as well as this is actually my first year of being homeschooled, as well as, I mean, I had to start putting my health first, and, you know, just really, like you said, priorities is a big deal. Not a lot of people realize what all it takes until you really get into it, and, you know, it's just, it was definitely a huge change because I had to really mature a lot quicker than all my other friends did because, you know, when I was in school and everything, I mean, I didn't get to go out on Friday, Saturday nights and go and hang out with my girlfriends or go to parties and everything else. I was out racing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't regret it one bit. I love it.
And most of the drivers, especially those that are serious about what they're doing, they don't regret it. I just couldn't imagine the drastic change, you know, from having one lifestyle. And you know, a lot of the drivers, they start 4 or 5 years old, and so it's kind of, they're used to it. But to be pretty much right at that teenage gap, and you know, you're expecting one thing and you expect to be doing this, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's get a hobby, and all of a sudden everything just changed. I can only imagine how much of a difference that was. 6 years in the making, it seems that your career has kind of taken off very well. Already a champion, track champion at the Langley Speedway and Virginia State title, 14 wins. That's very impressive in one season. Is this when everything kind of just came together for you guys?
Yes, our second season in racing, we had one. It was actually our very last race was our first win of my first season. We finished second in the points that year in the Bandolero. And then, you know, we just decided the following year we were really just going to make a go of it. Even though we were at the level that we were at, we just decided that, you know, we were going to go with it. And, you know, we started traveling. We probably raced about 5 different tracks that year. We were racing almost every weekend. And, you know, that year was a very successful year for us. Definitely the last 2 years in the Pro 6 cars. Those are, I'll be honest with you, those are tricky cars. They're very heavy and underpowered. Let's put it that way. They're basically a late model with a V6 in it. So
Gotcha.
Those, I mean, I definitely do like the fact that I got the feel of a larger car, but, you know, once we started testing the late model a lot more, I mean, I think we went and tested, in October, I believe, and, I mean, from the previous race at Langley Speedway in the late models, I mean, I was running faster times my first test than half the field from that previous race, so, I mean, we definitely are expecting some pretty good finishes this year. We're looking forward to it, and my first race is actually not this weekend, but the following weekend at South Boston Motor Speedway.
Is this your first season with the Weblen All-American Late Model Series?
It is.
And previously, what other types of cars have you had the opportunity to race in so far?
Just the Bandoleros and the Pro 6 stock cars.
Gotcha. And
So,
how much of an adjustment
definitely-
is the late model for you?
It definitely is a huge difference. Size-wise, you know, getting used to really having that larger barrier coming. I mean, I jumped from a Bandolero to a full-size stock car, so, I mean, that definitely was a huge change when we made that. But, size-wise, it's not a huge difference, but definitely power-wise and handling and control was a big deal when we started testing the late model. I mean, I absolutely love it, and we're very excited for the season to start.
How hard of a decision was it for you guys to decide to move up into the late model, and how hard was it to come to that decision?
It wasn't a hard decision for me, but it definitely was a hard decision for my parents and everything. You know, I've been begging for it for the last 2 years now, but, you know, it was a huge decision for our whole family and our whole team. But, you know, we feel that this is going to be a really, we feel like the season's going to go very well. And we feel like we're ready as a team, so we're pretty excited.
Now, does your family travel with?
What was that?
I was going to say, did your family travel with you to all the races?
Yes. My crew chief is actually my father, and then we have some family members on our team, and then we have some family friends and whatnot that travel with us as well.
Got you. In 2016, what goals are you hoping to reach? Obviously, with this being a whole new car for you, you know, there's obviously a lot of things that you're, you know, going to be adjusting to, and a lot of new for you. But for the 2016, obviously outside of what everybody's goal is, winning a championship and winning a race, what are some personal goals that you have set for yourself in 2016 to kind of improve yourself as a race car driver?
To really, you know, I could tell you, yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to, and, you know, I'm hoping for to get the state and the track rookie of the year, and, you know, even a possible top 5 in points. But, I mean, really as a driver and, you know, working on my skills and everything, I would like, you know, work on my skills as a driver as well as, you know, work on communication and just really getting comfortable with what I'm driving. And, you know, if an opportunity arises to where I'm able to drive another car or another type of division, you know, that's always a good thing as well, because, I mean, we're just, right now, it's just being able to, I'm just really trying to focus on being able to adapt quickly to other things as a driver.
Yeah. Now, in NASCAR, there's, you know, a lot of changes, and, you know, a lot of times, and this is my personal thought, and I know you was listening towards it, so you kind of know my personal thoughts with this before we got you on the air. You know, I feel NASCAR does a lot of changes for the better of the sport. You might not see it right now, and you might not even see it for a few years. Like I said, the COT is a prime example. That was like one of the worst cars ever for NASCAR, but I don't think if they wouldn't have never started off with that and gone from there, we'd have never ended up where we are now with the Gen 6 car, which I love the Gen 6 car. And you know, the key to that buying. As a driver, do you have, I guess, do you see NASCAR and what they're doing going in the right direction to make this sport as good as it possibly can, especially for someone like you coming through, you know, and trying to make a career out of it? Do you feel confident that Brian France and the governing body is making the right moves to make the sport be a better sport?
I definitely do believe that. I mean, especially some of the changes this year to the sport and everything, I mean, they've been pretty drastic, to be honest. But, I mean, my opinion kind of on it is, how are we going to know whether these changes will work or not if we don't try them? And I just really feel like that's where it kind of falls into place. NASCAR is not doing anything to, hurt the sport. They're just trying to try different things to improve the sport. Whether they work or not is just something we'll have to see. But I definitely do believe that some of the changes, some of the rule changes and everything else, I mean, they're just for the better.
Oh, yeah. And I agree. And it kills me because the same fans that complain because they don't like how a rule is or how, certain things are the first ones to complain when NASCAR makes the change. They don't, well, why did they change it? And I'm like, you're the exact reason they did change, because you're complaining you didn't like it the way it was, but now you don't like it the way it is. And it kills me. That's just like the whole caution clock thing. I kind of, I wanted to see it play out, to see what it was like. And, what's great about the caution clock is now we're guaranteed to get a break in the action. And I don't want to, I hate saying it like that because it makes it sound like the race is boring and we're all waiting for the pit stops. But some tracks.
Are you referring to truck races?
Yeah. You see some of the races.
Definitely, my opinion on that whole deal is, you know, I definitely do kind of feel like out of all the divisions of NASCAR, I mean, I definitely do feel like the Truck Series is, I guess you could say, the longest running. I'm not going to say it doesn't have as much action because, I mean, skill-wise and everything else, it does. But as, you know, as fans see it and everything, I mean, as a driver, I see it as, I don't, like, yes, I want to see action and everything, but all the time, money, and effort put into those cars, fans want to see. Sometimes people that aren't involved in NASCAR don't realize how much goes into these things, and they're just well, we want to see action, we want to see wrecks, we want to see this. I don't want to see wrecks because of the fact that I know how much. So, I mean, definitely that caution, I kind of feel like it just adds to it. I mean, adds more to the race, really.
Yeah.
It's just another dynamic to it.
Oh, yeah, and I definitely agree, because there's certain tracks, and I don't want to say that it adds action, because there's action going on the track, but there's certain tracks that the competition gets spread out. Your Texas, your Charlotte, where the field is so spread out. This gives an opportunity to get everything bunched back together to include now pit stop strategy and everything else. And so that aspect I like of it. But I'm still waiting for that driver and that team to be out by about a couple seconds with about 25 laps to go. So they're right outside of that 20 laps to go rule, that they turn off that clock and the caution flag goes off. And I want to know the reaction of that driver, everything they invested into that weekend. And they have the ultimate car. And I want it to be a track, though, that tires make all the difference in the world. So they can't stay out and keep the position. They have to come in and get pits, and it ended up costing them. And I don't wish it on anybody, but then I want to know what the reaction is to everybody in the caution clock. Right now, I like it because it guarantees me every 20 minutes, especially, not so much Daytona, even though it ended up causing a wreck at Daytona, but some of these tracks where the competition gets spread out and it gets everybody back together and it gives us some action again in the whole strategy. But I like it so far, but I would really want to see it once it really affects, especially an underfunded team or a Cinderella story. Then I want to know everybody's opinion on it, and would really love to see how everybody views it at that point. But I do agree. Everything that NASCAR does, in my opinion, is for the better of the sport. We might not see it today, and it might take us a few years to see it. But I like the fact that they're constantly trying to put themselves in the conversation of the Big Four, and without the changes, they're not going to be. And I know NASCAR is different, and everybody wants to, this is not a stick and ball sport. I understand that, but you've got to be relevant with the other four. If not, it's all for nothing, because if nobody's watching, it doesn't really make a difference. That's just like the safety of the sport. I don't think people give enough credit to NASCAR, because you think about how many miles are traveled every weekend times 36 races a year, not to count all the other series, to really not have that many broken bones compared to every weekend someone breaks something in football is really remarkable to me. And it's really a testament to NASCAR and all the different series and, all these different teams in the development programs, because without that, this sport wouldn't be where it was. And, it says a lot. Has it been difficult? Not only for you, waiting and I hate to say late, because 11 years old is not really that late to get into a career, but compared to other drivers, it is quite a few years late. But to get into the sport kind of at a late start and being a female, has it been difficult for you? I know that it's not difficult as it once was, because we've got so many great women athletes and female athletes in the sport now that it's becoming more of a common thing, but this is also 6 years ago or so that you were getting into the sport. Has it at all affected you, or has it been, pretty open arms when it comes to you being a female and being young in the sport?
It definitely was it was difficult at first due to the fact that, I mean, I was new to the sport and everything. And, you know, 90% of the people that I were racing against were, I mean, they knew what they were doing. I mean, it was really a fact of, you know, just learning how to adapt quicker. I definitely wish I could have started a bit younger, because I probably could have made my, you know, mark a bit earlier. But I definitely don't regret the age I started at, just because at that age, I mean, I was a little bit more, how do I say this? I was able to understand more. You know, you start kids out 3 or 4, 8. I mean, sometimes they start them at 8 years old, but I mean, me starting at 12 years old, I was able to comprehend more of what my coaches and my parents were saying and everything like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Do you think you would have got burnt out with it, being so young? And, you know, it's one of those things that you if you're in it, you got to be in it. There's no, okay, Dad, I don't want to do it this weekend, or I don't want to, you know, do it this year. If you're doing it, you're doing it. Hey, do you think that possibly if you would have started so young and not really, you know, that was not really something you thought about doing prior to you doing it, do you think that would have caused you to possibly been burnt out with it and not really pursue this as a career?
I have watched a lot of drivers, a lot of very good drivers start out pretty young, and, you know, by the time they get to their teenage years, sometimes they do get burnt out, and it's a sad thing. And I do, I do appreciate kind of starting at the age I did, because, like I said, I was able to comprehend a little bit more. But yes, I have seen many drivers get burnt out and at such a young age, which is really surprising. From a driver's standpoint, yes, it is a bit harder as a female, because it's a little bit harder at the age I was, and, you know, going up through it was a little bit harder for the other male drivers to accept it, and, you know, gain the respect from them. From a marketing standpoint, I do believe it's been a gain. You know, me being a female and everything. But, I mean, all in all, it's one of those things where you're going to have your ups and your downs, either way.
Gotcha. I got 2 more quick questions for you, and I got to get you out of here. I got Zach waiting for me. Zach knows to get in the studio behind you. The 100.5, is there a reason behind that number, or is that strictly to do with sponsorship?
That is actually one of our sponsors, yes. It's a local radio station here in the Tidewater area. It's called Hot 100.5. And we've just gone off of that with the number.
Gotcha. I just figured what it had to do with, but I figured to ask you. It might have all just happened to have been, you know, coincidental. So I wanted to inquire on that. And then my final question is, favorite driver all time. Who did you idolize growing up?
I'm a big fan of Brad Keselowski.
Tell you what, I don't think that's too popular of an answer these days, but I have no wish. I'm a Kyle Busch fan, so I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't have a problem with Brad Keselowski. You know, I love the fact that he stood his ground when him and the whole Carl Edwards thing went on. And, to me, it was both the drivers in the wrong when all that happened. And, you know, so that is what it is. But I like that answer. And, champion, and gives you, I believe if you idolize somebody that's great and is successful in your sport, that makes you more likely to follow in those footsteps. So I definitely like that answer. Maddie, like I said, I've been following you for a while. I'm glad to have an opportunity to sit down and talk with you. Definitely want to wish you the best of luck on 2016 and moving forward. Would love to have an opportunity later in the season to catch back up with you, see how the season's going, seeing if any plans have changed, and seeing if not seeing if, but seeing what other positive things are going on with you in your career. But I definitely want to wish you good luck, not this weekend, but next weekend. I believe you said it's the first race, and definitely will be looking out on my timeline to see how you end up doing, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you very much. We're excited, and definitely we'd love to come back on the show. And like I said, Maddie Ryan Racing on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And thank you for having us on.
Yes, ma'am. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
That was Maddie Ryan. Make sure you guys check her out. Make sure you guys follow her on Facebook. Like I said, I've been following her for a good hot minute. I know at least a year. I'm not sure how long it has been. I've had an opportunity to see, some of the changes. The whole working out thing, kind of inspires not only me, but, everybody else that sees it. Every day I sit there and think, I got to get back in the gym. And to see somebody so young, so motivated, and implicate that in part of their career and know the significance and how important it is, it's very inspiring. But definitely glad to have the opportunity to finally sit down with her, talk with her, not have to see everything from a timeline, but actually get to hear it straight from her. So it was really cool. Definitely will be looking out to see how she does in this first race coming up and see how she handles this bigger car. So very, very excited for Maddie, and very excited that we got her on tonight. Next we got Zach Knowles joining us, late model driver. I'm very excited about the opportunity to meet somebody that I've not followed and not had on the show. We've had a lot of those lately, and it's really cool. As much as I love the fact that we've had a lot of repeat guests, that we really have been blessed with people coming back on the show, it's always great to meet a new face and get to hear a new story and just have one more person to get behind and help support and help root for. I tell this story all the time. I'm getting ready to get Zach on here right now. Coming up to the last year, towards the end of the ARCA series, and knowing that we had like almost every single driver in the top 10 of the points on the show, to include team owner Mason Mitchell and everything else, it was really hard to, you're wanting to back everybody that is giving you, their time and support here at the Once in a Nation to support them. So when I'm in groups and I'm trying to say who I'm going to be pulling for and who who I want to win and everything else, I got to throw everybody's name in that list. But I do, and I continue to support all these great athletes that come on here and show us love and show us support. I feel that it is a must for us to do the same thing. Miss Lee does the same thing, and all the rest of the guys that have their shows, they do the same thing as well, and you see it all across all the Facebook pages and groups that we're involved with, so it's really cool. But without any further delay, I know Zach didn't come on here to listen to me talk. We all actually came on tonight to listen to him talk. So let's go ahead and get him on the show. How are you doing tonight, Zach?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I am not doing too bad. Sorry about the delay, but glad to have you on the show. Looking forward to getting to meet a fresh face and hear a fresh voice. Before we jump into this, I'd like to give you guys an opportunity to plug yourself, if it be social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you guys happen to use or you happen to use, team page, personal page, sponsors, whatever you want to throw out there. That way the fans get to know you and know you more on a personal level, to not only follow you throughout 2016, but moving forward with your career.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. I have all those links on my website, which is zachknowles.com, so you can always click on there and read all about me and follow me all you want.
Zach, I'm just getting the emails coming through. At what age did you get into racing, Zach, and what got you into racing?
I got into racing at the age of 13. I've always had a drive for it, and I've always looked into racing through my dad's eyes. He loved it, and it just kind of made me love it, and I actually went to a school with a guy that was in racing, and I actually was so intrigued into racing that I was, you got to show me how do you get into it. And so finally he just showed me this website, ran up to my dad and said, Dad, you got to check this out. So we checked it out, got an address to the track, the local track here in Houston, Texas. Went out there the next day, and the guy that was actually having maintenance for the track was actually the stepdad of my friend, which was really cool. So get to know him, and he showed me around the track and showed him everything. Really great guy, and Sonny Hunt, actually. And he actually let me drive my friend's car right then and there after an hour of talking to him. It was a great experience, and I've been hooked ever since.
I can imagine. How long have you been racing now?
I've been racing for 12 years now.
12 years? What all you had an opportunity to drive in? What different types of cars?
I've driven anything from a Bandolero to a Legend Modified to a layback car on dirt to a truck to a Modified to a late model now.
Now, out of everything that you have had the opportunity to race in, which one has come the easiest or the most natural to you?
What has came the most natural to me has been either a Legend or a truck, which a Legend is a lot of fun to drive, and I really enjoyed that car, which is somewhat familiar with the Modified and the late model with the power and the weight ratio and everything.
Gotcha.
And, I mean, this year, we got our feet wet last year in our first year of late models, and this year we're going to hit it hard and see what we can come out with.
Now, you mentioned dirt, too. Which one do you like better, the dirt and the asphalt, and how big of an adjustment is it for you to race on both of them?
I would love to race on dirt. I have never had the chance to race on dirt. I actually just tested some cars and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
The first time I actually did it, I didn't really get the hang of it, so I was still trying to drive the track like asphalt, and you cannot do that. So I prefer asphalt for now, but I would love to try dirt and get the hang of it, so I'm sure I'd love that too.
What's 2016 looking like for you this year?
Man, it's been a dream come true almost. I went out to I went to Daytona ARCA week, and then I had a family friend of mine get contacted by a truck team. So we went back to Daytona for the trucks and had an interview with the team and whatnot. Things didn't quite go the way we wanted, but the good Lord showed us another team, and we had even better results with this team, and so far so good. As of now, we haven't signed contracts yet, but we're working on a deal to run a truck race this year and still do my late model in Texas and Florida and Alabama. So it's awesome. I'm living the dream right now.
Now, having the opportunity to be around, these ARCA Series teams and these truck teams, how much has this opened your eyes, and what did that experience do for you personally? I know that there's contracts and the talk and all that stuff, but outside of that, what did that experience make you realize? Maybe you had the it factor that maybe you didn't realize you really had, or there's something maybe I need to work on this, or my communication. Was there anything part of that experience that you kind of walked away and really have kind of zoned in on?
I mean, it really hit me hard. As soon as I walked into that truck garage, I realized that I have a lot of work to do, and it's not just like physical appearance or talking, but it's getting mindset and getting physical or your physical ability and stamina and be able to drive a truck and being able to talk to anybody and make friends and relate to what they're talking about and carrying conversation and just it was definitely a setback for sure to really know what I need to do, what I need to work on. And
what's it like talking to other teams and other drivers? When we watch the sport, I guess we only see the heat of the moments. We see, before the race, you'll see a bunch of drivers stand around. You'll see Smoke and Junior talk, or, you'll see mainly teammates talking for the most part. And we just assume that, we're not going to see Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano sit down and have dinner or hang out anytime. So we kind of assume that's how it is. Is it really more of a easygoing, willing to help each other atmosphere, or is it kind of cutthroat like we kind of, as fans, visualize because of the high-intensity competition that's going on?
Now, I haven't been in a Sprint Cup garage or the Xfinity garage, but when I walked into the truck garage, I really thought that I was going to be like cutthroat and intimidated and all kinds of stuff. And, talking to these drivers, they're just like you and me, just carrying conversations, want to talk about anything and everything. And they don't care if they talk about racing or horseback riding or whatever it is. Just they're willing to carry on a conversation. You ask them anything you want, and it's really peaceful, actually. I love it.
Go ahead. I was going to say, and that's really cool because, I wasn't sure how it was, and I know getting into, the whole media thing, and being a company like we are, I was assuming the same thing. I would reach out or have other, shows contact me or this, that, and the other, and it went from, I was assuming that it was going to be cutthroat, and we're all competing for sponsors and listeners and everything else, and that's not how it is either. Everybody's willing to kind of give you, what they found to be successful, and just different war stories, and just different little tips to help you out. And I didn't know, especially the sport that you're in being so sponsor driven, and how important it is. If it was cutthroat, or if the drivers were out there really to help each other and kind of be a big family as they try to portray, or if it's more like the Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth that ready to beat each other up scenarios. You have been offered potential rides in the Truck Series, the Camping World Truck Series. What would it mean to you to represent the state of Texas when you have your plans firmed up?
I think it would be a huge opportunity. I'm actually trying to prepare for that, as in working out and getting my mindset and just getting more involved in the racing, just so I can take the opportunity to run with it and not let everyone down in Texas. I think it's a lot on my shoulders, and I'm ready for it, and there couldn't be a bigger opportunity.
Now you spent a couple weeks in Daytona. What did you take away the most from that experience? What kind of stuck in your head from that experience the most?
It kind of gave me a drive to be more passionate about the sport and want to dig into it more and be able to get into it and evolve from it and become maybe the next Jimmy Johnson. So
there you go. I tell you what, that's definitely as much as that man is not like, especially him and Chad Knaus, which it always blows my mind because I saw somewhere today there was a bunch of penalties and fines handed out from NASCAR from Atlanta, and every weekend there's always a couple people that get kicked back that don't pass either pre-qualifying inspection or pre-race inspection or even post-qualifying inspection. And Jimmy Johnson's had his weekends that he doesn't pass the pre-race or the pre-qualifying or post-qualifying, but always passes the post-race. So obviously he's not cheating. Obviously, just like every other team, they push the envelope as far as they can. But for some reason, everybody zeroes in and keys in on Jimmy Johnson, even though he is one of many cars on a weekly basis that get kicked back. And so it always blows my mind on that. I want to take a second and kind of step away from the racing for a second. and I want the listeners to kind of get to know you a little bit more on a personal level. Say that we're midweek in, which we are. We're Wednesday. I say you want stuff being on a show like my show, and you want an opportunity to kind of get last week's thoughts, race, situation out of your mind. You're not quite ready to get your mind ready for the next weekend race. You just want to, an evening to yourself, or maybe 2 or 3 hours, to kind of clear your mind, kind of recharge the batteries. Well, what do you do to kind of do that and get away from everything just for an evening, just to reset yourself?
Lately, I've turned towards working out. I go about 6 times a week, and I work out for about 2 to 3 hours, whether it's I'm on the grind for 3 hours, just pumping up iron and working out hard, or I'm there on the treadmill and just walking slowly. It relaxes my mind and just kind of just space free. It's, to me, I turn to nothing else.
Now, kind of in the same mindset, but say you got an off week, summertime, there's nothing going on, and you got an off week, and everybody says, look, you've done great the week before. We don't have nothing this weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Friday, get off work, get out of the shop, whatever the case. We don't need you back till Monday morning. If you had that kind of opportunity, and I know a lot of drivers don't get this opportunity, but just say you do, what do you do to just kind of get away and enjoy yourself? Is it be hanging out with friends, mountain climbing, whatever the case may be? What do you do to just kind of get away for the weekend?
Well, either me and my buddies go back to the track and rent some go-karts and just beat and bang and have a little fun, or we have some property out west of Texas, me and my family do, and we go out there for a good weekend and just relax. No cell phones don't work out there. It's just nice, peaceful, and wildlife and fishing, and you can float the river, and it's very peaceful.
Almost sounds like me growing up. No cell phones. We didn't have cell phone reception. We just didn't have cell phones. As a matter of fact, I can remember, I can't tell you how many beepers I bought back in the day. Most pointless things. I had to go stop at a payphone and spend money to make a phone call that was really always pointless anyway. But I don't know. Some of the things we've experienced throughout lifetime. 2016. This is kind of a two-part question. One, what are you looking most forward to this season? But also, what are some personal goals for you? I mean, obviously, winning a championship is the first two for everybody. But put those aside for a second. If it be working on a certain skill set for yourself, if it personal, whatever the case may be, what are some 2016 goals for you, and also what are you looking for most for 2016?
Well, since I just dipped my feet in water last year on the late model, I'm looking to actually move more towards the front in that and maybe win my first race. Not only that, but exceed in the Truck Series or get to race more in the Truck Series, because it's always been my passion. It's my family's passion. It's been everyone I know around me is their passion. I mean, that's something I would love to do, and where was I going? The truck series is a very good series to get into. So I think it would probably be a good fit for me, and whether or not go to the Xfinity or Sprint Cup, the truck series would be maybe a good home for me. I just stay there and just race and make that my career, and then I focus on working out because I love doing that. So maybe I'd have two careers like that.
Now, are you back in Texas now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you were in North Carolina for a while?
Yeah, I lived in North Carolina for a year. I went over there in 2008, 2009 when the economy was pretty bad. So it was kind of hard to hold a job. I'd get a job and 2 weeks later, I'd lose the job because the company was going under, and it was really hard to stay afloat. And my dad had a company back out in Texas that was just kicking off, and so that's why I actually moved back home to help my family business.
Now, was you racing while you was in North Carolina as well?
Yes, sir. Like I said, the money was tight, so I hit very few races, but the races I did hit, I really enjoyed, but I couldn't quite do much because I was spending more money on food and trying to stay afloat out there.
Oh, I completely understand. How much of a culture difference was it for you, not only moving from Texas to North Carolina, but also was there a difference in the competition? I'm not going to say level because I feel anywhere you go, there's very skilled drivers, but maybe difference in driving style or difference in how the tracks were run. Was there a big difference from what you were used to the tracks and the races that you did to participate in North Carolina?
Yeah, it was a huge difference, actually. Texas isn't really the hub of racing, so you don't have 20-plus guys in each race trying to get into the A main race. And, I mean, out there, I mean, you're having every guy racing at least 3 to 4 times a week, and it's so close together. It's like probably the top 30 within a tenth or two, which in Texas, I mean, you might have the top 10 within 3/10. So it's just definitely a huge step into racing over there.
Got you. What is something that you would want potential new marketing partners, maybe your fans or even your family to know about you that maybe they just don't know at a personal level, maybe, racing? What is something that we might not know about you?
I've never been deer hunting. I've actually... What's that?
Go ahead. I'll respond after you get done.
I've actually never been deer hunting. I looked through a scope at a deer, and there's actually a couple of cats that followed me to the deer stand and scared the deer off. So never had that shot to pull the trigger, and looking forward to it.
I have never been deer hunting either, but for a whole different reason. And it's not that it's not that I'm against it. I don't want anybody to think that he's against. I could care less. Unless you just leave it like that. Now, everybody, for personal reasons, either for game or, for meat, that's fine. Just don't kill it and leave it there. But me personally, there's a reason why I'm on talk radio. It's ironic because growing up, I was the quietest person. As a matter of fact, my first job, I didn't talk for 2 weeks, and they actually had to ask me if I even talked. I just didn't talk. And then once I joined the military and kept having general manager and managing jobs where I had to be vocal and be very customer-oriented and relate with the customer, is when I kind of came out of my shell, and now I'm on talk radio. There's a reason why. I like to talk. So the idea of getting up at the crack butt of dawn to make yourself put deer urination on you so you draw the deer and everything else, to stand in a tree, you have to be super quiet in hopes, not guaranteed, but in hopes that a deer is going to cross your path, does absolutely nothing for me. I'll be 100% honest. I don't knock anybody for doing it. I just don't have it in me. I fished when I was younger, and I don't have anything against fishing. I just don't have the patience for it just to sit there. Now, if I'm drinking all day long, hanging out with buddies, I have no problem with it. But the idea of just going sitting there and have nobody to talk to and have no idea what's going on in the sporting world, you got to understand where, you got racing and gym. That's the time you consume. Both of those is probably what I consume when it comes into sports, because the minute I get up, I turn talk radio on, and either I'm listening to talk radio or I'm watching some kind of sporting until the minute I go to sleep almost every single day. And even at work, I'll turn on iHeartRadio and turn on a Fox Sports or something. So I just don't have the patience. There's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I like to talk, regardless if people want to hear it or not. I like to be able to talk. So that's the reason why those are out of the question. Not that I'm against either one of them. And, like I said, I'll go fishing. I don't care. I'm not going on. I'm just not doing it. There's more of a probability that there's going to be a fish come across my path in a big lake versus a deer having to come through through the woods. So I don't know. But growing up, I love asking this question. Growing up, and you might have two answers. I have two answers. I'm also a lot older than you. Current, and if it's changed who you grew up being a fan of or idolizing. Like myself, growing up, I was a big Bill Elliott fan, and for obvious reasons, I've moved on now. I'm a Danica/Kyle Busch fan. If it's the same answer, that's great. If you got two different answers due to retirements or whatever the case may be, that's great as well. But current driver and possibly growing up, who did you idolize?
Well, I don't mind Kyle Busch. He's one heck of a driver, and he actually shows it. But I've always idolized Dale Sr. Mm-hmm. And he's just watching him be on the track, it was just amazing to me. And now I've actually moved on to Junior because him on restrictor plate racing is unreal. Just be an eighth inch close to the bumper of the car in front of him and just swing out to side draft him and pass him, and that's incredible to me.
And being a driver and you knowing what it takes to be a driver, and you understand the skill set to be a successful driver, does it kind of make you scratch your head at times that people really don't understand how talented Kyle Busch truly is?
Yeah, they think that he's just out there driving a Cadillac and anybody can do it, but I mean, to have the urge to go to Bristol and almost flat-foot around the track, I mean, that's not easy. So it's just, he's definitely got the talent, and it showed last year when he won the championship.
Oh, yeah, and I tell people all the time, I honestly think that Kyle Busch can do more on three wheels than a lot of drivers can even do on four wheels. It blows my mind. And then, talking about Senior, I respect Senior, and I will not take anything away from Senior. I just never was a Senior fan. Therefore, I'm not a Junior fan. But it blows my mind that I honestly believe that in today's racing, Kyle Busch is about as close as you get to Senior. Kyle Busch will push that envelope as far as he can push it, and that was kind of what Senior did. I honestly think if Kyle Busch drove in that generation's NASCAR and they were allowed to get away with a lot more, I think Kyle Busch would probably I used to say would already have a championship, but he would have more championships at this point. Just like I think if Senior would have drove in today's NASCAR, how it's a little bit more policed and you can't do as much, I don't think that Senior would have possibly had the success he had because he liked to push that envelope. And it just kills me that NASCAR fans hate Kyle Busch so much, even though that's about as close as you're going to get to what we had growing up watching Senior, but everybody loves Junior, which to me is, almost the exact opposite. He's a lot calmer, and he doesn't straight shoot it like Senior would used to in the day. And I have a lot more respect for Junior now over the last couple of years because he's really come into his own. I just think the first couple handfuls of years, it was more of, okay, you're Senior's son, and that's the only reason you're here. Last couple of years, he's really kind of owned up to showing us what he was really about, and I have a lot more respect for him now than I once upon a time did. And honestly, my respect actually started going in a more positive direction last year when I was at Martinsville. And as much as I will never cheer for Dale Jr. ever to win a race, post-race interview in the media center with Dale Jr. when he won that grandfather clock at Martinsville by far was the best time. And I've been in the media center probably about 20, 30 races in the last 2 or 3 years. That by far was the most entertaining post-race interview that I was ever part of. And I think that's the only reason I would want to see Junior back into victory lane is at a race I'm at because he made it fun. And so I definitely like that. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to throw out there real quick before we get you wrapped up. Making these movements and having these opportunities to drive in the different series, how difficult has it been for you, especially with the economy? You talked about, in North Carolina and the economy being down. How hard has it been to find marketing partners to help make this even possible? I don't think a lot of people realize how sponsor-driven and how important it is to find these marketing partners. How difficult has it been for you?
It's been really difficult. I've actually been looking for sponsorship for, I'd probably say, almost 4 years now, and I have yet to come across a big sponsor like Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. That's extremely hard because you put my name next to Jeff Gordon's name, and it's just an easy sell pretty much. It's so hard to find local sponsorship or even regional or national sponsorship just to sponsor a kid that's just getting into racing and trying to pursue his dream. I have been very lucky to have a family business which doing business to business with partnerships. I've have success there, but to have me to go to Joe Blow off the street and say, hey, can you sponsor me? It's been really difficult.
I don't think that fans, even fans of NASCAR or racing itself, really appreciate what you guys have to do on a weekly basis and a daily basis to make this even possible. Any other ball and stick sports, you'll join a team and you might pay $20 a year to go play, and you don't got to pay for the car, and you don't got to pay for all this other stuff, and so knowing that this is a sponsor-driven sport and how difficult it is to get sponsors and how many drivers and families that got to come out of pocket every single week to make this even possible before if they even land a sponsorship, I don't think a lot of people realize or appreciate how much you actually got to do to even make it on the track. And I think it blows my mind, and I think that's why I appreciate and enjoy, having an opportunity to talk to you guys, because I understand, and I hate trying to compare what I do compared to what you guys do, because the expense level is two different, what it costs you is Earth, and what it costs me is way on Pluto, and I know this. But I know at the same time, to make this happen, everything comes out of our pocket. So we land in the same boat that you land in, and get a big time sponsor to take care of it. But and I think that's another reason why I can appreciate and respect every single driver that comes on here even more, because I know what it's like for me at a small expense level. I can only imagine, what the stress level is and what you guys got to go through just to make it out there on a Friday night, Saturday night, and eventually make it to, the upper series. And, I have a lot of respect for what you guys do, because I know that's not an easy task.
No, not at all. Hopefully this year, really, me and my marketing manager, Chris Knight, are really trying to push for it and see what we can come out of. So hopefully we can turn this thing around and dreams start coming true for everybody.
Well, I hope that everything lands the way it needs to land. I hope that one of these teams, go ahead and decide to take a chance on a driver that is obviously worked very hard to put themselves at this position, and very deserving. Very, very excited about the possibilities for you, Zach, and definitely the door is always open here. We'd love to have you come back. Definitely would like to hear from you later in the season, just to see how things are going, see if any of the plans have fell through, and see, not so much if, but when they fall through, to kind of let everybody know, to be able to keep up. That's one of the great things about doing this for 5 years, and everybody we've had come on the show, so many people come back, and there's a lot of these drivers that I have got to, have on the show over the last 3 years, and more specifically the last 3 years, and see all these different milestones reach, and watch and be part of well, not be part of, but to get to experience them growing and everything falling into place. And hopefully you're another one of those drivers we get an opportunity to watch grow and watch the opportunities fall in place and get to hear about it. Definitely want to wish you the best of luck in 2016 and moving forward. I want to give you an opportunity if you want to plug anything real quick before we let you go.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed being on here. I'd love to chat again. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Zach Knowles Motorsports. Zach Knowles Motorsports, and check out my website at ZachKnowles.com.
All right, we will definitely do that. Good luck on the rest of this year, and definitely we'll be keeping an eye on you. I'll be hitting you up on social media later on tonight following so I can keep up with you as well, and you have a great night.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Zach Knowles, make sure you guys follow him on Facebook and Twitter, and make sure you guys keep up with him. I don't think y'all appreciate and understand what these drivers go through and what this sport goes through. That's another reason why it blows my mind that I hear the people talk negatively about Daytona. I'm sorry, but you sold me. The first race of the season, NASCAR sold me. With the finishes they had in all three series and the action that we got to see, not to include week 2, where we had some big names win the races and the downforce bring us back to old school racing. But to know and appreciate what these drivers do and how they get here, it's not an easy path. I hate comparing apples and oranges. I know what I spend on a yearly basis to make this happen. And it's not even in the hundreds of dollars. It's not even in the low thousands of dollars. I'd be willing to bet most years we're in probably double-digit thousands of dollars to make all this just to happen. I don't complain about it. Yes, we would love to have us some marketing partners to ease our pockets so we can continue to grow. Don't get me wrong. And so, on top of what we do financially, and as many people as we are able to reach for such a little funding that I have to be able to keep this funding and the little staff we have is remarkable to me. Now you do that in a sport that it is all sponsor driven, and it is not your local Pee Wee football or your youth baseball where you might pay $20 if you pay that and you get your uniform handed to you. The only thing you got to go out and do is buy a glove and cleat for, if you're in football, like maybe a mouthpiece and cleats and a cup of baseball, and if it's only you're a male, if you're female, you don't got to pay for that. In racing, you got to pay for your car, the parts, the gas, the tires, everything that goes involved with it. I don't like putting one sport above the other because it takes pure dedication, it takes pure loyalty, it takes a lot of things to make it happen. But to listen to anybody talk negative about racing just blows my mind because I don't think they realize how much it goes into making all this possible. Oh, goodness. Some more moves going on in the NFL. As we got a few minutes here on the wrap it up, and I want to make sure I thank both Zach and Maddie. One, I want to apologize to Zach. Maddie called in a little bit late, so that kind of pushed everything back a little bit. I know I saw Chris's email letting me know he was in the studio. I was just trying to make sure I got everything covered with one before I jumped in the other, and I knew there was a possibility we was going to shift one back a little bit. We was going to be able to shift the other one back a little bit, but I want to make sure that I thank both of them, that I apologize for Zach and apologize to Zach, and thank everybody that made it possible for both those drivers coming on. It was truly, honestly, a pleasure having both of those on there. The Atlanta Falcons have turned the page from Rowdy White. The Falcons released Rowdy White, the franchise all-time receiving leader, on Wednesday. Shouldn't come to a major shock, though, with the decline in his performance, and the stats are, showing otherwise. And, of course, when you got Julio Jones out there as well, that always helps as well. Playing for only one NFL team since 2005, White strung together 6 straight seasons with at least over 1,100 yards from 2007 to 2012. He stands at 10,863 receiving yards in his career, which is 35th most in the NFL history, 8th amongst active players, including Andre Johnson and Calvin Johnson, who are mulling retirement. White was due to make $2.75 million with a $1.5 million roster bonus. The contract he signed in 2014 was supposed to keep White a Falcon for life. As he talked about at the end of the season that he was hoping was going to come true. Obviously, that is not going to happen. Roddy White probably will find himself a second, third, to-go guy situation somewhere on a team that's probably already stacked, maybe like the New York Giants team, Oakland Raiders team, that is not going to count on him to be number 1, number 2. I think Oakland actually would probably be really good. I told you they're only a few pieces away from being the best in the West out there, and being behind Crabtree and Amari Cooper, where they're not going to rely on him, but they get production out of them. But a team like that, I can see Rowdy being around for a season or two, more of a kind of roster filler and bring in experience to the team and put himself in a position to be able to win a championship. I don't think he wants to be part of a rebuilding team or a team that really has no shots. If I was him, Denver would be a prime. New England, I just think that Roddy White has done a lot, performed well, has been a great receiver, and can be a truly great asset, but not a number 1 or number 2 kind of guy. Not really number 2 guy. 2.5-ish to 3 or 4. Yes, a team that, someone goes down, he'll step in, but don't expect him to be a season-long fixture. Like I said, there's a couple great systems that he would be great in. Denver would be one, and that's if Peyton Manning came back. I don't know with Brock Osweiler how that would work. New England, that would be a great fit. Pittsburgh would be a great fit. That'd probably be the best fit, but then he would only be number 3, possibly number 4 in that depth chart, and would really stack that Pittsburgh Steeler offense. But I don't think this is going to be the end of Roddy White. Obviously, the end of him in Atlanta. Like I said, I don't see him going to a team rebuilding or a team that has not got veteran quarterback and already their number 1 and potentially number 2 locked up. And he would be more of possibly 2, but more like a number 3 or number 4. And I doubt that he's going to see that $4.25 million that he was hoping to see this year as well, with that 2.75 base and the 1.5 contract bonus. Don't see that happening as well, but definitely keep our eye on where White ends up. And Ravens, Joe Flacco agreed an extension through 2021. Tell you what, winning 1 Super Bowl does you wonders, because you don't have to be worth a darn ever again, and you're going to be hailed as an overrated quarterback with overrated contracts. Baltimore Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco may be recovering from a torn ACL, but that hasn't stopped the Ravens from committing to keeping their franchise quarterback around for years to come. Via multiple reports on Wednesday morning, Baltimore and Flacco have agreed to a 3-year contract extension that will run through 2021. The Baltimore Sun's Jeff Zebrik tweeted that Joe Linta, Flacco's agent, is at the Ravens facility to finalize details. Flacco signed a 6-year, $120.6 million deal in March of 2013, a month after leading the Ravens to victory in the Super Bowl, a post-season run that saw him throw 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. But under the terms of the deal, Flacco was set to count $28.5 million against the salary cap for 2016, and both sides knew a renegotiation would be necessary. CBS Sports' Jason La Canfora said that the new deal would free up roughly $6 million in cap space for this season and $13 million total for 2016-17 season. Updated ESPN's Adam Kaplan reported that Flacco's extension is worth $66.4 million, with $44 million of that fully guaranteed, broken down as a $40 million signing bonus and $4 million in base salary in 1 year of the deal. Tell you what, winning a championship and what potentially is going to be his only Super Bowl championship in Baltimore, all I can say is I'm not going to hate. That's all I'm going to say. That's just a lot of money to pay somebody that is just won one championship and a lot of commitment. You figure they've already committed 3 years since he won a Super Bowl. Now they've committed another 5 years from this point to 2021. That's 8 years of commitment off of one Super Bowl. That's a lot of commitment. I'm sorry, but that's a lot. I don't care the fact he threw 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. You beat the San Francisco 49er team that had Colin Kaepernick, which I said was going to cost the 49ers the Super Bowl. 2 blown timeouts and an interception cost them, and that was all on Kaepernick, who's only gotten worse every year since. So really not a big surprise that they even won the Super Bowl. But like I said, that's a lot of commitment. That's a lot for someone that's really not done that much, not deserved that kind of money. Good God. Oh, goodness. Oh, well. Must be nice. One day we'll get a big contract here. One day we will find us a contract that will make it where we land the 110 Nation in an actual studio, in an actual building with an actual staff. I said I hate trying to compare apples and oranges, but I think that's why I relate to these drivers so much more, because I understand the struggle. So it is what it is. Don't forget, we got the 110 Nation 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. We also got Racing with Big Sweat Thursday night, 9 p.m. Make sure you guys do not miss that. Steve Billmeyer has got himself a real good show going on for tomorrow night. Very excited about having the opportunity of sitting in the studio and being part of this great Thursday night show. As we got ARCA driver Travis Baden, we got late model driver Brooke Storr, and sprint car driver Andy Fosberg joining us tomorrow night. So very, very excited about the opportunity to sit with Big Sweat and doing that. Don't forget, we got a special edition of Happy Hour Garage Saturday at noon. And then we got the Happy Hour Garage Sunday night, 7 p.m., followed by the Dirt Talk Hour at 9 p.m. on Sunday. Don't forget, Monday nights we got Rubbin' Is Racing, and taking back off this week also, we got the 110 Nation Morning Show. So make sure you guys tune in and you guys check those out. Also, don't forget to check out our blog site, www.110nationsports.com. We've got a lot of articles, a lot of things, and press releases, stuff going on over there, so make sure you guys check that out. Also, check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on over here in the 110 Nation. You can check me out on Twitter, at @110nation, @110nation. Also, check out our fan page, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Trying to think of anything else. Oh, if you're interested in coming on the show, all you got to do is hit up Miss Lee. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Also, if you're interested in joining the 110 Nation, maybe you got a show and you want us to syndicate it on our network, rebroadcast it. Maybe you want to come on and be a co-host or expert in a certain sport. You want to come on once or twice a week, talk 30 minutes, like we do on Tuesday night with Izzo, join us, talk NHL. Maybe you're a writer and you want to get your opinions and your work out there. They just want a platform to kind of get your exposure out there. Or maybe you want to do behind-the-scenes stuff. We can always use another PR or two, as Miss Lee is looking for someone basically to be her clone and help her as we continue to expand. Social media, maybe that's your thing. You want to help help improve our social media exposure, if it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or maybe you're good at marketing. And we all know, with us not having any sponsors at this point, we could definitely use some strength in the marketing and some in there. So if any of those happen to be you, all you got to do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. I would love to have an opportunity to talk to you and see about bringing you on the 110 Nation staff here. Got to thank everybody for tuning in. Got to thank Matty Ryan. Got to thank Zach as well for Zach Knowles for joining us. Very glad to have both of those on the show tonight. Looking forward to being back at it here tomorrow night. So make sure you guys tune in. Until then, you guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter @110nation and on Facebook @110nation Sports. Until next time.
This tax refund season, Metro PCS has an offer so good you'll want to shout it from the mountaintops.
Switch to Metro PCS, and get two 4G LTE phones for free.
Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free 4G LTE smartphones from brands like Samsung and LG. Only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. After instant rebate. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.